Hey everyone, I'm your host, the Frozen Stratos, and this is my review of Kamen Rider Saber, Book 1, Part 2. So, the official title of this release is Kamen Rider Saber, Book 1, featuring Kamen Rider 01. Right out of the gate, Saber is picking up 01's slack, and only one of them has any substantial screen time that isn't just standing in the dark or being a still image. Though, for all the criticisms I can lob at the selection, it's not really the line's fault that the world ended and pushed back the debut of these suits. I'm rather happy with the figures we got. Even though none of them retain any of the new improvements that Saber brought along, they each have something special going on with them. Hellrising Hopper, for instance, could have just been a straight repaint of Shining Assault Hopper, but they went out of their way to remold the torso. The original Shiny Boys never had this distinct ab detail. That's why it's very helpful that the sticker sheet comes with an option sticker to turn this into an upgrade set for both of these figures. That isn't all that's on the sticker sheet though. There are individual Progrise key stickers to place on any number of 01 figures to get a more Dai-Soto experience. The main use of these, however, is to apply them to your Ikazuchis. This figure, while great on its own, has a lot to it that makes me think it wants to be an upgrade set for your riders, and I can respect that. Anyway, this is a figure all on its own, and I should probably talk about it. I'm loving the magenta accents on this suit. The simple color palette goes a long way in setting it apart from its original release. There aren't too many painted areas here, but where there are, it's a good time. I absolutely love it whenever they paint the toes for me. I cannot tell you how much I hate feet stickers. The color matching on the stickers is wonderful, by the way, though I wish they would have separated the details in the thighs to multiple stickers. I'm not a big fan of the edges of the suit being reproduced by low-res pixels suggesting line detail. Where I am more forgiving of the sticker detail is in the chest. There's no new molding underneath the sticker, so it has a lot of heavy lifting to do in order to make that globe pattern work, and I think it succeeds. The circuitry detail stands out to me as probably the hardest thing they'd have to replicate if they wanted to use paint, so it makes sense that the chest is done this way. The articulation is what you'd expect out of a 01 Soto figure, so I won't go into detail. The only shame is that the head can't really crest the edge of his collar to look to the side as effectively. I'd say this figure cuts a striking silhouette, especially with the full-on punchy fists. Typically, we only ever get fists like this when either A, they didn't have their own weapon, or 2, Toei didn't tell the Soto team in advance what weapon they'd use. It's usually the latter, but then again, Eden got his weapon, so what's your excuse? Hey, speaking of Eden, Eden has a wealth of new molding to him, but a lot of it feels familiar. I want to say that most of the parts here are basically just 01. Outside of the obvious though, this figure looked a little familiar, specifically in the thighs. From the waist down, I am convinced this guy is Flying Falcon. Not the Flying Falcon mold, perhaps just based off of the same suit. The jury's still out on if they're actually the same suit parts, but it's cool that we're able to speculate on this since, much like Hellrising Hopper, this came out way before we had any concrete looks at the suit. Either way, I'm a big fan of the look of this toy. The stickers are doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to the detail, but the designers of the suit didn't really help them by littering his suit with thin red lines. It's a fair trade-off though. This guy looks like he's pulsing with evil and it's beautiful. What's not so beautiful is his weapon. This is the Thousand Jacker. Again, yeah, except this time it's molded in black and has less paint, so there are some trade-offs here. I don't know if I like it better or not. On one hand, you do have the accurate molded color, but on the other, there's this terrible sticker that has to fold around the tip, and you can never really get it right. Then again, these are just nitpicks. As a whole, this figure makes for a phenomenal looking villain. Alright, I wanted to save the best for last. Let's talk about fighting Jackal.
Hunt!
Blade Ride.
Fighting Jackal!
Ever since I saw this suit in show, I've wanted a figure of it. Not only is this character starved for suits, it just looked cool. Now, I get that it isn't meticulously weathered like it is in the show, but Soto's never really done weathering before. Even the Hard Guardians came out super vibrant compared to its on-screen counterpart. Either way, this figure manages to capture everything I loved about her suit. The Egyptian-inspired design cues, the regal gold on black, the slanted eyes that make it look like there's a laughing jackal on her head. All of it is rendered beautifully. Even the staff turned out great, and it seemed like a recipe for disaster. See, with most long weapons, Soto really only has two options. Make it two parts that plug into either side of the fist, or make it slide into a specifically designed hand and you can slide it around wherever else you want it on the staff. They went with the latter, which is usually a death sentence for most of them. Whenever Soto goes this path, they always have to put the sticker over the part that runs right into the hand and gets crunched up in the process. This time, however, I was expecting that disaster, but they decided to be smart about it. The sticker that runs along the length of the scythe is cut slightly thinner than the actual size of the weapon, so the comically large fingers can wrap around it and they don't collide. It just works, man. This makes me so happy. That's not even the only item she comes with, though. Well, technically. On the sprue her hands were on, there was a leftover piece from the Valkyrie mold. This is the empty replacement belt buckle for the shot riser. This was left in since they didn't want to modify the sprue for her hands. However, it's not to be thrown away. The blog notes that in Book 2, we're getting Naki, a Naki figure. Incredible news in itself, but they're also packing in a handheld version of the shot riser for Fuwa's Rampage Vulcan form. It's different than the original since they only ever made the belt version. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough room in that mold to include an empty belt, but with this extra piece from Jackal, you can complete it. This is great. Alright, let's get back to the figure itself and talk about some details. So, the stickers, they are pretty well behaved. Most of the stickers go over smooth surfaces, which is a delight compared to some of the nasty placements Soto gets up to sometimes. I guess it kinda sucks that there's basically no detail on the back, but since when has a Soto figure ever had detail back there? Quit looking, it's rude. Overall, these figures are great. I'd say it's a great farewell to 01, but we already know that more are coming down the pipeline. Really, I look at these figures as a solemn promise to do right by 01 as well as Saber. This is the first wave, so it basically sets the tone for waves to come. Not only are we getting Saber, we're getting figures we should have gotten earlier, representation for characters that have yet to appear, and upgrades to enrich the experience for older toys. Soto Book 1 has something for fans new and old, and hey, if you're one of the 01 fans that didn't like all the GO figures in 01's line, well, take a look. Now is your time. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this episode, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear more from us each week. Tell me in the comments down below, has this convinced you to purchase these yet? I mean, it's not too late. These are still all readily available on sites like Mandarake, so you've got options here. Anyways, while you're down there, there are still links in the description down below to how you can help support the Black Lives Matter movement by donating money, signing petitions, whatever you do, as long as you do it, it absolutely helps. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it.